You guys, we all know Kelsey. You hear me talk about her all the time, and just how excited I am to see the success that her team and her have had. We've been close since Janelle's retreat back in, was that 2016? When she had the retreat, we kind of knew each other, but we didn't know how much we had in common, and we both had our kids at the retreat, so we started hanging out, and then she got pregnant with her twins, and it was really cool to watch her transformation through, having these twins and then getting her, pre-baby body back after having 3 children, which is so exciting. But just over the last, couple of months, I started to stalk her a little bit on Instagram stories, and I'm like, holy moly, you're crushing it on Instagram. And our team has just started dabbling a little bit in Instagram stories because I keep telling them that's where it's at. And I was like, Kirk, Kelsey's killing it. She is crushing it on Instagram stories. And then I think you posted in Janelle's team group, I signed 12 or 13 coaches last month, and I was like, jaw drop, what are you doing right now? Because I'm struggling. So, but hopefully Kelsey doesn't hate me for sharing this. She's officially locked in elite for 2017, you guys, with her team. That's a huge goal, especially during a year of transition and stuff going on. So I'm so excited for you guys, and I'm excited to be able to soak up your knowledge on Instagram stories, because you're so fun to watch on there that I know we all can learn something. So Kelsey, thank you so much for speaking to us, and I'll give it to you.
Oh my gosh, no, I'm actually really excited. This is one of my favorite things right now is Instagram stories. So it was really fun this morning. I just did a little brain dump to try to figure out, okay, what am I doing on there? And it's been really fun I'm excited to share it with you. So like Meg was saying, this year has been a huge transition for me. My twins, I had them almost a year ago. I can't believe they're almost 1. Had them on the 29th of December. So honestly, Instagram stories came out at the perfect time in my life, because for me, I'm just not as good of a writer. To sit down and make a post was so daunting for me. But I'm just I can be myself. I can do that. So when Instagram stories came out is when my life just got crazy. I had my girls when they were 34 weekers. So they were in the NICU for 3 weeks. And so I had that transition. And then I learned that preemies are really fussy, and they don't, they're just cranky all the time. So I've had to transition through that. And then we decided to move this year. So transitioning through all of these big life events this year has been a lot. So Instagram stories has honestly been a blessing for me. So I'm really excited to share what I'm doing in there so that you can see success in that area too. So, why it works for me is because I don't have to think a whole lot. Like I was telling you before, is when I would write a post, literally I would need 30 minutes and I had to be quiet. I can't be around people. I need to be lock myself in a room and write a post, where this is just I can just whip out my phone and go, and it's fine. So, what I really started doing is treating my Instagram stories like Facebook posts or an Instagram post. So you guys probably hear the jab, 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 right hook. So that's what I did, because I knew you can't constantly talk about the 4 vital behaviors and what we do as coaches, or people are not going to watch. They just won't. They'll get sick of it and they're going to go the other way. But you can do it with sprinkling it in and bringing and creating that curiosity. So what I do is I add value. I treat my Instagram stories kind of like a reality TV show. I add my own humor to it. So I'm myself. But people people in general that they can tell that they're being themselves and that they're funny. They come back because it kind of makes them feel like they're, 1, they're human, and 2, they get humor out of it. So it creates that crave. They want to keep coming back to your Instagram stories. And then I sprinkle in and I give sneak peeks of coaching and sneak peeks of boot camps, but I'll explain more on that. Okay, so the reason that people keep coming back to your Instagram stories is through you adding value. So what I do is I constantly think about, okay, what have I really struggled with this year? What am I struggling with? How am I going to overcome that? So for me personally, this last year, I thought I was an organized person, and I realized with having twins, I was not. I did not have systems in my home that were in place because I was getting behind in laundry, and then I was feeling it makes me want to cry sometimes thinking about how I was this year, just we're constantly eating out because I was like, I got to work on the business. And then the twins are crying. And then it was like, Dean's coming home from work and he walks into like this mass chaos in our house. And so I knew that I had to create systems in our life and in our home that was going to save us. And so I started reading books like Grace Not Perfection by Emily Lay, and different books that I was like, okay, like I can do one load of laundry a day. Like that's simple versus waiting till the weekend. And I can, I'm just now trying to think of other things I've shared. Just different things in my life, like, always starting the dishwasher every night before I go to bed, and always just kind of picking up our house every single evening. It takes like 10 minutes. And how I share constantly on my Instagram stories that just like if you're setting a fitness goal, or just like if you're setting a business goal, you need a deadline. You need a deadline for getting ready. You need a deadline for picking up your house. Otherwise, you could take you 30 minutes. So I use a timer to do everything. I'm like, okay, Kelsey, 10 minutes. Let's pick up this house. Go. And I just do it really fast. So I share those little tips on my Instagram stories and how I've been able to simplify my life and how I'm not living in constant overwhelm and anxiety through these little systems I've created in my home. And so I share that on my social media and through Instagram stories. I share recipes. So if like I'm a busy mom, I like to share recipes. I do that on my Facebook Live too, but I'll even step by step take people through the recipe. Step 1, this is what I'm doing. Step 2. And again, I create humor through that. Like we'd put something in the oven the other night and I found like a game show song, like the doo doo doo. And you see me and my 3 kids sitting by the oven, like waiting for dinner to be done. Like, so I create, like that's my humor, but I'm using my humor through my Instagram stories, but also sharing and adding value with the recipe. Like I said, any life hack. So I get lots of questions on my eyelashes. I get lots of questions on the systems that I have in place. I get lots of questions on just like how I get my kids out the door, and with like stuff that I didn't even know people would be interested in, that I'm like, oh, like, okay. So when somebody asks me a question, sometimes then I'll do a poll on my Instagram stories asking, would more people find this valuable? And if I see like, okay, like the majority says yes, I'll do a story on that maybe the next day or next week. So I think the poll feature is really great. What else do? I have like my little notes here. The other thing that I have really learned, so with growing my family and having all this anxiety, I was starting to feel almost resentful with coaching because I'm like, like I can't do all of this and be everything. So as I was learning all of these things and these systems, I was getting excited again. So I knew if I was getting excited about feeling like, okay, I have it halfway together again, that if I was excited, I knew that would come across in my stories that I was excited to share it. And anytime that you're excited, people sense that and they feel that excitement. So I think just kind of stopping and thinking like, what is bringing you joy right now? What am I learning that gets me excited? And sharing what you're learning on your Instagram stories, because anytime you can create that excitement, whether it's in coaching or what you're doing in your life or motherhood, people are going to sense that and they're going to want to be a part of that. Something else that I do with the adding value. So I started doing this before the poll was a thing, but I still occasionally will do that. If I am getting questions, so for example, I had people asking me about meal planning, people asking me about how I keep together my house chores, my lashes, what I do in my me time. So what I did is I created a story and I was like, here are your options. Here's 1, would you like to hear more about meal planning? 2 is house chores. 3 is lashes. 4 is me time. Please swipe up and message me and give me your vote. So that people would just reply and say number 1, number 2, number 3. And so what I was doing through that was building relationships. So they were starting to feel like they were almost text messaging me, because it was like, oh yeah, I want to know more about 1. And so through that, they're building more trust in me. It has nothing to do with coaching, nothing to do with boot camps or challenge groups. It was solely just to build relationships with people. And so that started that comfort zone for them, being like, okay, I sent her a message. Now later I might send her another message or reply to something else that I thought was funny. It kind of breaks that ice when I'm telling them what to message me. So they're just saying 1, 2, 3, or 4. And so they're voting through that, and it breaks that ice. I felt like that really was a game changer for me. So asking their vote. I don't know if everybody has the swipe up feature, but like if I'm sharing something that I have purchased, I'll say swipe up. But if you don't have that, what you could still do is go to Amazon if you purchased it there, snapshot it, and still share, like, this is the exact thing that I have. And then tell them, like, snapshot it to save it so you can purchase it later. So that's something you can do if you don't have the swipe up feature. Okay, so that's just kind of my adding value and what I do through sneaking that in. A lot of people ask too how you get music to play in the background. All I do is go to my iTunes, and you don't even have to purchase the song. Just like the little minute trial that they give you, click on that, then double tap. If you have an iPhone, go back to your Instagram stories, and then if you're cooking and want a song or what, that's all I do. I don't purchase the songs. I just use the little sneak peek into that song that they give you on iTunes. Okay, so then the next thing I wanted to talk about is how I kind of talk about coaching, but building that curiosity. So without saying what it is that I do that through sharing on my new coach calls. So I'll be like, I'm getting ready to like help a couple new people get started on their journey, and I'll do like an Instagram stories with it. So it's building curiosity. People are like, what does she do? Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's what it would look like if I joined her team. Things like that maybe they didn't know existed. I talk about specifically why I love what I do, and I give examples through stories. So to give you an example, the other night I worked in the evening because our house was chaotic all day long. The twins didn't hardly nap, and so I just didn't get time during the day to do what I would like to have done. So I did it in the evening once Dean got home. Got the twins to bed. I'm working, and I was able still, though, to pause and tuck Ruby in and read her a story and kiss her goodnight. And I talked about it on my Instagram stories because before coaching, I was an RN and I worked 12-hour shifts. And I talked about in that season of my life, I couldn't have paused work and came home and tucked her in. Like with this, I was able to pause what I was doing, tuck her in, and then come back to work. Being an RN, I would have missed a full day with her. So this flexibility and this freedom has been such a blessing to me. And so I talk about it and how my life has changed. And the other thing that I have talked about is I have taken Ruby to the dentist, where normally maybe I would have worked, but because I have this flexibility and this freedom, I was able to pause what I was doing and take her to the dentist without having to ask for PTO, without having to ask somebody to switch shifts. Like it's my own schedule. So I think that's what's so cool too, and just sharing that with other people. But I also talk about how this is hard work and how you still have to sacrifice. So, for example, I was working that night in the evening at home. So I could have been like watching TV and lounging out. So yes, it's still hard work. I'm still making sacrifices, but I'm willing to do that over what my life used to look like. And I share the vital behaviors on my Instagram. So I'll share me working out, just like a snippet. I don't go into a whole lot of detail. Occasionally, I'll give like a tip. So I had diastasis recti. So if there was an exercise in my workout that I did that was actually safe for that, I would share that and say, this is an actual safe exercise that you can do. So I'm still adding value, but showing that I'm getting in my workout. I'll share my personal development takeaways. Sometimes I'll snapshot a picture of the book. Sometimes I'll use the quote. Sometimes I'll snapshot a quote and then I'll talk about what that means to me in my life. So I'll, see it through my eyes. I'm trying to think what else I do through all of that. I will do 5 a.m. boot camp, fit clubs in the morning through Zoom like this. I'll share that. So I'm giving people kind of a sneak peek into what I'm doing, but without coming out and saying, I'm a coach and this is what I'm doing. So that's how I'm building curiosity through coaching. The other thing is the creating the curiosity through the boot camp or challenge group side. And again, that's through like, I always like 5 a.m. fit club going down now. And I love the built-in accountability that coaching has and things like that. And then I share results. So for example, my team and I just finished the 3-day refresh. And so I would share like, this is my journey through it. But then not only did I get results, other people are getting results. And I didn't call it the 3-day refresh. I called it a 3-day cleanse. And then I invited people like, would you like to do this with me throughout the new year? And I created a poll and I said, would you like more information on doing this with me come January 2nd? Yes or no? The people that said yes, I went and messaged those people on my Instagram stories. So they, it's kind of an indirect way of inviting. You're inviting them, but without saying like, message me. It's more, I don't know, I think they feel more comfortable hitting yes than sometimes messaging. So it's more of an indirect way to invite. And then we have what's called Take Back the Kitchen. So we have these weekly meal plans. So again, I'm sharing behind the scenes into Take Back the Kitchen through sharing a recipe and giving them a recipe here and there. So just creating that curiosity through that. So that is the boot camp and the challenge group side of things. And then when I actually am going to do an invite, so that's kind of like with the jab, 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 right hook. So this would be like the right hook when I'm actually inviting. I usually think about myself and how my old behavior was. So I'll give you an example of the last time I did this. It was for my December boot camp. And I was thinking about the old Kelsey. So the old Kelsey would have put herself last. I would have felt like I have Christmas parties and Christmas programs and Christmas shopping and all these other things to do that I'd be like, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to cook a healthy meal. I don't have time for that stuff. Therefore, I would be having all this stress. Therefore, I would drink more alcohol, probably more glasses of wine in the evening. I would eat more chocolate to get through it. I used to be an emotional eater, so I talked about all that. And that was the old me, but now I've created these systems in my life, and I have the structure, and I get up in the morning and have this built-in accountability. And this year it's going to be different because of that. And because you're joining early, my early bird special is The Simplified Life by Emily Lay. It's the book. This is the book I'm going to be reading in December, and I'm going to gift it to you when you commit by this date. I'm only accepting 5 people, and I just need you to swipe up, message me if you're interested, even if you're just a tad interested. Even if you're not sure if this is what you want to do, but you just want more information. I don't bite, so comment and message me right now. Do it now while you're feeling it. And I just really create that do it now, because a lot of times people think, well, I'll think about it, and then they never end up doing it. So I share a story because I want them to get emotional. Like I want them to think, that's me too. Like that's always me every single year. And she's gifting a book that's going to help me. I'm going to just message her and find out more information. So that's how I create the urgency, how I get people to message me. I'm going to share this. That doesn't have really anything to do with Instagram stories per se, but I have like what do I want to call it? Template. I have 4 templates for my boot camps that I rotate. Because again, I had to create more systems in my life because I was going crazy this year with all these children and a move. And so I created 4 templates that I rotate for my boot camps. But I didn't want to get them to get bored because there's some people that want to be in them every single month. So I've created themes around my boot camps. So the themes stem from a book that I'm doing. So like November was Grace Not Perfection. December is A Simplified Life. So I usually do an early bird special for the people that get in early, and I gift them the book for the theme. They don't have to read it, but that's what we're going to be talking about through the boot camp, just to give it kind of some flavor and spice it up every month. So that way I'm getting my personal development in, and then it's kind of a different theme each month. So that's just kind of what I do with that. Then what I suggest that you do, I really love the new feature that Instagram has where you can save, I forget what they call it at the very top, you can save stories so where they don't expire. So if you do give a tip, or if you do have something that you want to share, you can save them up there for people to watch later so they don't expire. I love that. Then you can save that whole story. So for example, yesterday I actually did an eyelash tutorial. I saved that whole story actually this morning. And then you can repurpose that in Facebook, like post the video to Facebook, or you could take a snippet of that and actually post it on a post on Instagram and say, for the full thing, watch my Instagram stories. So I repurpose a lot and just say, refer to my Instagram stories. And you'll be surprised at the amount of people that are like, what are Instagram stories? So I sometimes will say, just click on my profile and my picture and my profile, and it'll take you there. So that's how I repurpose material. And then the last thing I really wanted to talk about is just like Instagram stickers, the filters, and just some basic tips. So I typically don't use a whole lot of filters, even when I wake up and I'm like a hot mess in the morning and I'm reading my personal development. I will, it was so like hard for me to do in the beginning, but I will still like be like, this is the real me in the morning because I want people to feel like they're there with me and that I don't have it together 100% of the time. Like I don't wake up and just have my makeup on and my hair done all the time. So I want people to feel like they're there with me. So I don't use a whole lot of filters unless it's going to be something funny that's going to tie in with one of the filters, then I will. I do use the location because I feel like, you know, if like I'm at Target and I tag Target, that there's people in that location that will find me that way. I tag stores. So if I'm like wearing an outfit and I'm like, oh, I get a lot of questions on this sweater, I will take a picture, a selfie in the mirror, and I'll tag like, I got this at Target. I got these pants at, usually everything's from Target, but I'll tag where things are located. So that's another way to add value. The poll feature I think is amazing. I try not to do too many, I call each one of those 15-minute videos a story. So I try not to do too many of those stories in the same setting because I feel like what happens is people just kind of tap through. So if I'm like on number 5 and I'm like, okay, I'm still sitting here, but I do have more to say, I'll do something funny like, yep, still here, or yep, you know, just to kind of give it a different flavor so that people aren't like, oh, she's still talking. And I try to mix things up. So with all that adding value, sneak peek into coaching, sneak peek into boot camps, sharing stories and inviting, I try to kind of mix all of that up. So it's not always about boot camps, always about like, I try to sneak that in, and then I'll sneak in my kids or what we're doing so that people get a glimpse into what my motherhood life is like and that my kids are crazy and don't listen half the time too. Like I'm a real person too. And then I debunk fears and hesitations publicly. So what I mean by that is I'm going to give you guys an example, and I'm actually going to do it right now. So I'll do an Instagram story of just like what we're doing here. And then once this call is complete, I'll get back on Instagram stories and I'm going to talk about how I know for me, a lot, social media was intimidating before coaching. But when you become a coach, we actually give you trainings and teach you exactly what you need to do. So if you're fearful or if you're scared to do that, we teach you the exact steps on how to do that. And so there I've debunked a fear, but I'm showing them how the team call is set up. So I'll do that here in a second. And then what I do too is through debunking fears and hesitations. So if I get a message and somebody has a question, I'll snapshot it, I'll blur out their picture, I'll blur out everything, and then I'll post it and then I'll address it either through a video or answer their question over it with some words. Or what I'll do is if somebody else has added value to me, I'll also snapshot it and swipe up and share the value that somebody else on my Instagram has shared with me that I'm like, this is an amazing tip. I've got to share that. So that's something else. So for example, I don't know if it's still on there. I think it probably should be. It was last night. I talked about my lashes and what I do. Somebody else said, these are another brand I really love. Something that you can do too is add mascara to the top of your lashes if you want a fuller look. I didn't even think of that. Snapshot, I shared it and said, this is an amazing tip too. So I'm adding value that way, but my Instagram following is starting to feel like they're a part of it too. So I think that's what's really cool too. I feel like I just vomited a bunch of information on you. That's all I have for you though.
No, it was so good. I was like, I'm taking notes over here because there's so many things that I don't even think about, you guys. And I know some of us have talked about, like, gosh, sometimes it can feel so unnatural, like just filming videos of yourself talking. But just don't worry about it. Just be yourself, because each one of you guys has like funny quirks about you, and that's what's going to attract people to you. You know, like I think Kelsey's hilarious. I think Chanel's hilarious as well, just like through her Instagram stories. So if you look at everyone who's doing Instagram stories, they all are doing well with it because they're sharing their personality. You know, like you don't have to overthink it. And I think a lot of times we overthink it. So Kelsey, thank you for that. I had a question, and then I'll let them open up and ask questions. So so with your polls, like your Instagram polls, you can see who like says yes and who says no?
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's something new.
You can. I think you click on viewers, and then if you scroll down a little bit, it'll say like see something, and you click on that, and then you can divide it between yes and no, and actually like that way you're only looking at the yeses, because I think originally it'll show you and it'll be a mix. But if you scroll down a little bit, then it'll give you the option to split it up between yeses and nos, and then you can just message them right from that.
Let's see. That is so cool. I did not know you could do that. Oh. Cool. All right, guys. What questions do we have about Instagram stories? Don't all jump at once. I think this is always like such the awkward part, right? You're like,
something else I'll just add because of what you said, Meg, but like about being yourself. So something that Shalene has said a long time ago and has really stuck with me and honestly has really helped me kind of overcome that. Obviously it gets easier the more you do it, but is really just envisioning that you're talking to your best friend or your husband, because when you are, then you know you're truly yourself. So if you have to pretend you're FaceTiming with your husband or something, do that for a while until it becomes more natural.
that's so true. I remember Shalene saying that, like, just imagine yourself talking to someone that you love or like your niche type person. So that helps a lot. Kaylee. What other questions about Instagram stories, guys?
I have a question. It's more about Instagram in general. I just started using it like a week ago, and I love the stories. And it's so much easier, and I wrote down all of your tips. They were really, really helpful. What do you use to message people? Is there an app or something that you use on the computer to make it easier than like typing on your phone?
So what I do, I video people back, because again, I think it's more personal and I feel like I can do it quicker. And I know I only have 15 seconds. Sometimes I have to do a couple, but it takes me forever to type. And I'm like, hey girl. And they're like, oh wow, she's talking to me. You know, they feel that more of that connection. So that's what I do. I don't know if you can message people from Instagram on a computer, to be honest.
How do you do the video?
So let me see here. I'm trying to think. When I go in, I'm going to pretend. Okay, so you open up, and then there's the video, like the little button down here at the bottom. You can just open that up and then video them right back. And it's basically 15 seconds, just like a thing. But you want to make sure it's going to just that person and not your stories. But it should go to that person if you've opened it up in the message part. The other thing I do, and I started doing, is I have that link tree on my Instagram bio. So I'll use that, but then I had created it in the notes section of my phone. I have an iPhone, so I don't know what phone you have, but in an iPhone, you have a notes section, and I have Google Forms. So I just kind of have like a little script that says, hey, I'm so excited that you're interested. I'm happy to send you more details. And then I just give them the Google form, the link straight from there. But then I'll add it a little something else. If their profile is public, then I might say, your kids are so cute. How old? Da, 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 by the way, whatever. And then give them the form to fill out. So to me, that's easier on Instagram to follow up with people through email than trying to figure out, okay, what was their Instagram name? What to follow up with. I think it's a lot easier through email personally. So that's what I do there.
Court, I don't know if it works for Instagram stories, but I think if you get the Instagram, well, yeah, because it would go into your messages. So if you go, there's like an Instagram app for your computer if you have a Mac.
There is?
Yes.
Brand new information.
Saudi Amante shared that with me, and I was like, oh my God, this is the game changer. I haven't been able to use it yet because Kirk and I are on the same account, and he has me blocked from buying apps. Like, totally didn't do it on purpose, but I'm like, why do I need to get your permission to download this? So I haven't gotten a chance to do it yet, but they talked about it, and like Barbie Kalev loves it, Saudi loves it. They're all like, how did you not know about that? So yes, there's an Instagram app. Isn't that so cool?
So cool.
Yeah. Yes. So any other questions on stories?
I'm curious. Oh, go ahead. Okay. I'm curious, real quick, how many followers do you have the swipe up feature? Do you know?
I don't know. I heard somebody say 10,000, but I honestly don't know if that's correct.
Okay. Well, I'm far from that, so I'll just include the link.
Yeah, I think if you just look it up real quick, snapshot it, that's still adding value. So
yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
And Haley, before I even knew how to do the swipe up, I did that, and that way you get them into your inbox, right? Because if they're serious about it, just tell them to swipe up. I think Janelle does that as well. Like, I don't think she ever has a direct link. She just says swipe up, so yeah. All right, Ariel, what's up?
So I've always done, well, more so lately in the last month, I do IG stories, but now I've started thinking, should I be doing them over on Facebook? So I've been playing around with the like page or stories on Facebook, and then my personal one. Do you do any stories on Facebook at all? And if you do you just repeat, or like what content do you put over there?
I personally don't do Facebook stories. I don't know if I might be missing the boat. But me personally, I watch my own behavior. I don't watch anybody's Facebook stories on my own personal behavior, but that doesn't mean that people aren't. But I do watch Instagram stories. So I don't know if that's just my behavior or if that's because there was a season that I was trying to do Snapchat and Instagram stories, and I was like, I can't. I got to pick one. So
I remember when they first came out with Instagram stories, and I was so like, oh, I'm not going to sit and watch people's Instagram stories. And now I love watching people's stories, So I think that Facebook, because it's newer, like, I think it's a transition, right? Because before people were like, you go to Instagram to get pictures, you go to Snapchat to look at videos. And now it's like you go to Instagram to watch people's short little videos. So now I think, like, we just have to wait a couple months. So if I were you guys, and Ariel, we've talked about this before, just save your videos, or it saves automatically now. Just copy and paste them onto your Facebook stories so that you're not doing too much work. But that way you're not missing the boat. I can't say they will be amazing, but they might be. So
that's a good point. You could just save them and upload them right into Facebook. I do have a question though, Meg, and maybe you know this. Is there Facebook, like your personal page has stories and your like page has stories? Okay, so technically you could upload those to both.
Yes, that's what I started doing. And, sometimes I don't upload everything onto Facebook until 9 o'clock at night, and it's been my whole day on Instagram, but it's still getting up on there, right? So people are still going to watch it. The other thing, it's like Haley was saying, that you can link your Instagram stories to your like page. I have not been able to figure it out yet. Erin Young told me the other day, and she tried to walk me through it, and my Instagram for some reason doesn't have the same options. So I think if you Google it, you can link it to your like page Facebook stories. Yeah.
So when you do an Instagram story, it would automatically upload to your like page stories?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to get on that boat.
Right? I know. And like, I've asked people on my like page, like, hey, do you guys like short stories, or do you like lives, or do you like Facebook posts? And most people are going to be like, I like a Facebook post, or I like live videos, because that's what they're used to. But if you start doing the Facebook stories and they start seeing more of you in these short little segments, it's a transition. All of a sudden, they're going to start watching them. So it's worth it.
So how do you see, I can see the people on my Facebook stories and my Instagram stories, but I cannot see the people. I can see the number of people, but not who's actually seeing my like page stories.
So what I've started to do is I share some of them. You know how you can like post it on your page? And I go off of who comments or likes on it, because I can't see who likes them yet. I'm thinking they'll figure that out somehow. But Ariel, I just go off of who like comments or likes on them. Yeah, you'll have like 100 people like it, and you're like, who's watching it? No one's watching it. It's annoying. Any other questions, guys? Yes, no? Okay, so who feels a little more confident in Instagram stories? I do. Like, I already came up with a couple different stories. I'm like, oh, I need to share this. Oh, I need to share that. So, Kelsey, thank you so much. You're amazing. I love watching you guys. If you don't follow her on Instagram, go find her. It's just Kelsey Shackley. So funny. Her kids are so adorable. Her husband's amazing, and her content is great. So, like, you actually feel like you know her. So it's going to help you realize, just be yourself, guys. Just be yourselves. So, Kelsey, thank you so much. Mwah. Love you guys. Have a wonderful Thursday. Thank you for hopping on, you guys. I will save this recording and put it in our team group. And, Kelsey, I'll send it to you as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.